Welcome back. 2011 Chevy Tahoe. Leaking really bad above the fuel tank. I know, shocker. They all do it, right? So I got to pull the tank on this, and we're probably going to end up doing, I'm guessing, a fuel pump, because the fuel pump housing's probably all rotted out on the top of the tank. But if I start this thing up, it just pours fuel over the side of the tank, which they all do. That really bad design. Pump sits in a valley on the top of the tank. Dirt, salt, water, it's all sitting there, and they rot the pump out. So we're going to do a fuel pump assembly in this. I'm going to go in and drop the tank. Should take you along. I've done these before. I think I filmed one of them, and I've changed the way I do them a little bit. You know, I learn as I go. Now that I've done a couple things have changed, so I'm going to refilm this one. Basically the same for most of your GM Chevy trucks. They all have the same problem. So let's go change the fuel pump in this. We're looking at the back of the tank. You see the filler neck there, the hose. So we're going to disconnect that. We're going to break it loose, just make sure it's not stuck on there. And as we lower the tank, that'll come off. There's a line here. I'm going to undo that. And then there's two on this charcoal canister. One behind, we'll see a little bit of the red there. That's the back one. We're going to undo them. So there are your connectors for the back of the charcoal canister. This one, you just got to squeeze these together. Pop it off. This other one here, it's got a red lock. Those tabs stick down. I just got a screwdriver on each side and kind of pushed up on them. So you open that up, so it's sticking up, that red, see it's sticking up, and then you can just pop it off. So they're both loose. The back, I got this undone, and I got a pick in there, a 90-degree pick, and went all the way around it, try to make sure it's not hanging up on it. They get kind of sealed on there. And this connector right here. So this connector, all you got to do, you got to squeeze it side to side, and it'll pop right out of there. It comes undone. Hopefully this will focus. I can't really tell if it's focusing or not, but this is the front inside corner of the fuel tank. I've not taken any straps off yet from underneath the tank. This is the same connector that's on the charcoal canister in the back. So that has two tabs that stick down. I'm going to try to do this without blocking everything that you're seeing. I'm going to take these and I'm going to push them in and then push them up if I can. I don't know if I can do it with this pick. A screwdriver seems to work better, which means you're not going to be able to see anything because I'm going to block everything. I kind of jam my hand in here, push them up and in. Just come on. There you go. Just grab it and squeeze it with my fingers. You see that pop up like that? And what I want to do, I just want to pull that out like that. And then I should be able to disconnect this line. Just like that. Now I have a couple other connectors here, electrical connectors. But I'm going to let this tank down a little bit and reach up on top and undo the connectors at the fuel pump. I think there's two of them if I remember correctly. Right along the frame rail, and you look right in there. That's one of the straps holding the tank up, and then there's one farther up, same thing. I think they're 15 millimeter. Let me get my jacks in place, and then we'll take those straps off. You can see I got my front jack, and I've got a back jack with a block of wood, which is right in front of my strap, which means I'm going to have to fish that strap out because it's going to be blocking a little bit. But I didn't want to put it behind the strap because I could get it in there, but I'm afraid that I'm going to have to move this around. I don't want it falling off of there, so I put it right in front of the back strap. So I have two jacks in there. Let's go take these straps and undo them. My head will probably be right in your way, but yeah, 15 millimeter. I'll reach up in here inside this frame, undo this strap. There's one. Just push that in the middle. I'll go and hook that in a minute. Let me get the back one while I'm here, which you're not going to be able to see. You're going to see my head, I'm sure. But put this bolt where I won't lose it. Then reach up in here. Get this one too. My head out of the way. Rust, and more rust. There's another bolt. two out of the way. Get that out of my way. Now I can start to let this down. When it comes down a little bit, it's going to have to go back a little bit, but it's got to go straight down first and try to clear this. I may have to pick this the rear diff and the axle up, but right now it's all on the jacks, and this jack should be this way more, which is fine because I don't have a lot of pressure on it, so I'll just move it. Not a big deal. Everything else, I don't believe I have anything that's not that needs to be undone. Alright, let's let it down a little bit so I can get in here and get my electrical connectors undone. Start to let this down a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna let my back down. I got to go back and forth. This is where a lift and a transmission jack would be really nice. It's still coming down. Alright, so I'm on the front, this cross member right now, the front of the tank is sitting right on the edge of it. It's kind of sloped this way. I'm going to have to go back a little bit with it, but I can't until I clear the rear diff. So as I let this down, I've got to go undo that, make sure that filler pipe, the filler neck hose, comes undone, and I can get it off of there. And that, you got to be careful. Don't just drop it, because if you hit that, it's plastic. If you hit that on the rear diff or the suspension, you'll break it. Ah, there it goes. So I got the tank down. You can see there's the, right there, you can just see the top of that filler neck hose. That's the biggest pain, is getting that loose and just being careful. The lines are down. I'm going to try to show you. Coil spring's kind of in my way, and I don't have real good light, so I'm going to try to move my light up if I can. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's this connector. Hang on. I almost forgot. There's that connector right there on top of it. You got to undo that. So I'm going to get in there, undo that one. I'm going to have to pick it up just a little bit. It's pretty twisted right now, so let me push back up. But up ahead of that, I don't know, I'm not going to try to show you this. I can see the two fuel lines are rotted beyond belief, like they always are. Alright, this is the front outside corner of the tank. There's one more connector there, you see it. I reached in there along that rail. That goes to one of the fuel lines on top of the fuel pump, but I'll show you why when I get this out of here. There's no way you're getting them undone. Not on this truck, you're not. And I'll show you what typically happens. And that goes way up in there. See that line right there? The fuel line? That's what that has to come out. So I had to reach in, sneak my arm in along this rail, push those tabs up right there. So it's pushed up, and then pop it out. But I got it. Tank's basically on the floor, almost. This electrical line here is loose. It's just hanging there. I'm going to get this thing out from underneath, and I'll show you what it looks like, and show you a typical GM pump rot. Well, there it is, out of the truck. So that's that one connector in the front outside. That's the other one in the front inside. Let me see if I can show you how these work. If you don't know, it can be very frustrating. But that clips in like that. So, let me flip it over here. So what you have to do is you have to squeeze them in. Let me do it again, because I don't know what you saw, because I couldn't see what I was doing, one-handed. So, you have to squeeze these tabs in, like that, and then make sure it's all the way up. Kind of grab it like that, pull it all the way up. Don't pull it out. You can pull it out, but it might break it. And then you can pop it off. Same for the inside, front. Here's my two electrical connectors, pressure sensor and the fuel pump power. And this is why you have to undo that front one. You see where it comes back here and goes to here? Your chances of getting that loose when it looks like that under the truck are 0 to none. Even now, I'm not sure they're going to come apart. Sometimes you have to redo them. I've had to redo them before because they just won't come off. This one right here, this line, I'm trying to do this with one hand. This line goes up over the cross member and then back down. Don't stick it on there before you put it in. It's got to go over the cross member. It's a pain in the butt. And then Two for the charcoal canister right there. Filler neck, just be careful with it. And that vent line, whatever that is, I don't even know what that is. I'm not even sure what that is. It's a vent line of some type, but it's out. Now we get to have fun with this. You see all the gas sitting up on top of here. Hopefully you can. A light, I don't know how good my light is, but you see how rotted out it is. So when you get a pump, you got to get a new lock ring. And if you're lucky, it didn't ruin the tank by rusting out the actual tabs that it locks onto. That's a whole different ordeal. No sparks in here, alright? You see all the corrosion just piled in there. So I'm just going to try to clean that out the best I can. See if I can get it to let go of it. I don't know. Probably not. But hey, it makes me feel better. At least I tried. Can't push them in because it's so corroded that you see it's just busted right there, all busted off. But it gives me some more. I can get this over on the bench maybe and get it apart. Get in here, clean it out really well. Pliers. If I can move these tight, if I can get these to move in, I'm golden. There's one, got one. Get the other. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Thing of beauty. Alright, now, I just got to get it to come out now. There's a seal in here, so we're not out of the woods yet. There it goes. There it is. Clean that out really good. Got the seal on there, the O-ring. I'm looking at that O-ring. You really can't see it, but I can see it looks good. That's one. That's a good start. All right, I'm going to keep fighting with this. I'll come back when I'm done. I'm either going to have to put a new one on there or I got it off. Hopefully you can see this. Got to get this lock ring loose. I did already. I use a brass punch because I don't want any sparks. This has been sitting for a day and I blew it off. And probably not a problem, but you don't want any sparks, because it's obviously a gas tank and vapors and fumes. You don't want that. It would not be a good day. But what you have to do is put the punch against this notch, and you can see how these sit in there, and then knock it loose until these are in a position where you can lift this up. This one wasn't too bad, but they can be tough because the corrosion locks them in place. And I'm not going to pull that pump right this second. I want to go in here and blow this off and clean it up a little bit before so I don't get any garbage in the tank. Clean it off really good. Should be able to lift this out of here, but it's got a hold. Doesn't want to let it go. I'm sure it's just this tab here that's holding it. I'm gonna just lightly pry up on that, lightly. Don't crank on it, you'll break the tank. Alright, so I'm going to push that right back down again. It's got an O-ring on it. Push it down, seat it again, and then blow it off some more. Just to be sure. Lift it out of here. Alright, just undid that line right there. I'm gonna have to hook it. I'm gonna have to hook it to a new one, but I believe they'll give me some more room to get this out. There we go. Be careful you don't bend your sending unit. There you go. Very little down in there. A couple little pieces I'll get at. I'll fish them out of there with a glove, but really small. Nothing much. But if you don't be careful, you're gonna have this full of garbage. Alright, cleaned off, which less, I don't have my pump yet, so it's supposed to be here today. New pump's in. Came in, clean this off here. Make sure I'm all cleaned up. Should have an O-ring as well. You want to put a new O-ring in here as well. I gotta clip the float on there. Arm for the float. There. O-ring. Let's figure out how this goes. It just clips in here. Clips in, floats good, ready to go. Now we're going to weasel it in. I have to get my line here. Don't forget you have a line down in here you have to get. Just a little clip, a little retainer. The line again. Get that in there. Let's see if I can push it in there now. I don't know. Probably fight with it for half an hour or so. Just for fun. Yeah, just click right in. And it just went right in there that time. Fight me, and then right in there. Okay. Well, that was fun. When you buy your pump, get a new lock ring. Just get a new lock ring with it. They're not that much. They're pretty cheap. Line your tab up here. And go really one way. Right like that. My lines are going where they were before. Get your lock ring. Over your lines first. Hold it. But what I will say is, don't buy a cheap pump. Pump may work okay. What you're going to find is fuel tank pressure sensor is going to go on you in a couple months. Ask me how I know. So this is a Delphi pump. This is what I use. OEM is best, but you're going to pay a ton for OEM in this case. Just going to set that lock ring back in here. There it is, locked in. Alright, so I've got to replace this. I'm going to go make up a new one of these. I've got a connector for it. I've got a kit to do it. I'm not going to show you that. This line, which is the bigger of the two lines, I'm going to actually hook this other end that goes up in front of the tank first. Put that in place. It's really hard to get to with a tank in there. And then I'll hook this up after I get the tank underneath the car. So let me go make this line up and we'll go from there. Got a new line here that I had to remake. That's on this one. Like I said before, I'm going to hook it to the front connector first before I hook it up to here. After I get the tank in, or close to being in, I'll hook it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this down. You can use this is Surface Shield or fluid film. Careful of your connectors. I don't want to get it all in the connectors, but I do want to spray it down just to give it some protection. And then I'll spray these after I get it in place, but it does not hurt to do this. Let me slide this back underneath, get it back on my jacks, and then we'll go from there. Get the tank back in. I lifted the front up onto the cross member there to hold it. Slid my jack underneath. I've just got it, just touching it here. The key is here. Don't block where you got to strap it. I've got all my connections back together on top of the tank here. I sprayed it down. I don't know if you can see it or not, but all my electrical connectors back, my other fuel lines in place. I'm going to slide I had it on my creeper to roll it in here. Makes it easier. Now I'm going to slide my other jack into the back here so I have a jack on either end. And I'll lift it up in place, and then I'll come back when I have that ready. You have to be pretty tight to this rail to get your straps on. If you're having a problem with the straps, your tank's probably too far towards the middle. It has to be tight against this rail when you pick it up. Otherwise your straps won't reach. So let's, and don't forget this line here. This line has to go up over the cross member in the back. So when you get it close, reach up there and fish that over. Otherwise you'll crush it. And, the cross member goes right in here. Well, it's back in most of the way. I've got to make my connections. I got to make the one at the inside front of the tank, and I've got to make my connections in the back with the filler neck. I've got that one line. You can't see it, but that connects up over the cross member. Make my connections in the back, and it's just, you just gotta. it's not a lot of fun without a lift. I will say that. A lift and a transmission jack would make this 100 times easier, but I don't have one, so you gotta do what you gotta do. So there's one of the strap bolts. You can see it's down about an inch and a half. I have it started maybe 5 or 6 turns by hand. I've got them both, the one in the back, which you really can't see because it's in the dark. Same thing. I've got everything connected back up. I push it up with an inch or two of where it should be to make all the connections in the rear to the charcoal canister and all the, the filler neck. Got that all done. And now I'm just gonna, now that I've started these by hand, I know they're not cross-threaded, I'll zip them in with the gun. And then we'll go test it out and see how it does.